We were young souls on the journey. Now we are just
Hello,
our
everybody.
minds.
Welcome to our fourth Baklava broadcast. It's nice to talk to everybody again. I'm Rahul, and I'm here with my friend J-Rod, who's got a voice made for radio. J-Rod, how you doing?
How you doing, Rahul? Pretty well.
And also with us is a man who's got a face that's made for radio. Kurt Russell, how you doing?
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, sorry about that. All right, so how you guys been since last time we talked?
Been doing pretty well. I think there was some sort of sporting event last weekend. I'm not sure if you guys got to catch any of it, but I think there was a football game or something.
Oh, that, yeah. Pretty solid game. I'm still pretty happy about that.
Yeah, very exciting.
Yeah, so I mean that Ohio State win, huge. I mean, just looking at their team going into, the Big Ten championship or, even in this playoff, you're thinking it's going to be tough, and I don't know if we have a chance and everything. And someone posted something on, I think it was Twitter, and if you like left the country or were like in a coma for like the last 5 weeks and you saw that Cardell Jones like a few days ago was holding a press conference, you would be like, did he like commit like a huge crime or like was he involved in like this huge like Ohio State tattoo like scandal again, or like what is going on? Like that's so hard to believe that Cardell Jones, like two months ago was so irrelevant, and then you look at what he's done in these past weeks, and now he's holding press conferences about whether he's going to return to Ohio State or not. So I just thought that was like crazy to think about. Just a short amount of time how someone can become like so relevant, for obvious reasons. He led Ohio State to such an improbable run, and he's just been
probably the best 3-game span in like the history of Ohio State for one player.
Mhm.
But yeah, sorry, continue.
Ezekiel Elliott probably wouldn't appreciate hearing that.
Yeah, no, that's true. At least Ezekiel Elliott, though, you kind of expect it. Like, those are 3 ridiculous games by him, but, like, it wasn't, like, completely out of the blue. And Cardell Jones, like, man, all that kid was known for, like, a few weeks ago was that tweet he sent out about, not coming to Ohio State to play school or whatever.
Cool.
Yeah, and I remember, like, there was a game, I was at a game, and, like, Ohio State won. I think it was the Michigan game a few years ago, and students went on the field, and I was on the field, and there's this huge dude, like, signing autographs and taking pictures, and it was Cardell Jones, but I just remember, like, standing next to him, and, like, I swear I was eye level with his belly button, and, like, he had, like, his pads on, so he was, like, huge. He looked like a linebacker out there, and I didn't know who the hell he was, but I guess now everybody knows who he is, so, yeah, it's a good story.
You think he made a good choice not going to the NFL after 3 games?
J-Rod, you can start.
Yeah, I mean it's tough for him. He obviously only has 3 games under his belt. But if you look at it in terms of like his draft stock and everything, like he just won the national championship and he just played, arguably the 3 biggest and like 3 best games of his life. So, like, anything after this is, like, how much better can he, like, impress or, like, does he would have to like win like another national championship or like put up ridiculous numbers and become Ohio State's number one quarterback for the future. So it's going to be interesting how this whole quarterback situation plays out for next year with, three quarterbacks, arguably all this year, like Heisman candidates for the games they played in, So
yeah,
I think Cardell is not ready for the NFL, obviously, but staying in college, he can develop, I guess, a little, but it's going to be tough for him to, make a bigger impression or, improve what people think of him by, playing in a limited role, probably. So, yeah, it's interesting, I guess, to think about it in both ways that way. So,
the one thing I would want to add, though, is, like, you're right, it's going to be tough for him to impress anymore, I guess. And it's always risky, injuries and stuff like that. But, like I said, like a while ago, we were making fun of him because he tweeted that he didn't come here to play school. And in his presser, he ended up saying, like, he wanted to get his degree. I think that's pretty honorable that you would want to stay and get your degree. I think he means it, and clearly he's matured and he might be thinking about life, after football, because I think everybody knows that in the NFL, like, the lifespan of a quarterback is not that long. So, I think he's matured, and who knows if he comes from kind of a not so great background. So for him to give up like a guaranteed $1 million must have been tough. I don't think the decision was as easy as he said it was, but if that's what he thinks is right, then I think it's a good decision. So I don't know. Anything to add, Kurt?
Not terribly. Glad he's going to stick around, and I think he has some pretty good. He's a pretty good tweet game, so hopefully,
that's true.
He can keep that going, staying at Ohio State, and kind of saying whatever he wants to. Seems to be a pretty funny guy. So we'll see.
He and his roommate. I think he rooms with Tyvis Powell, who's like a cornerback at Ohio State. And someone asked Tyvis Powell if Cardell could possibly play receiver next year. And he responds, there's no way, he's too fat, which is kind of true. I thought that was funny, but it'll be interesting because we literally had two Heisman candidates go out, and now they could be, on the bench. Like, I can't see, like, Braxton Miller at another school and not starting. There's no other school where he wouldn't start. Same with J.T. Barrett.
Yeah.
So, for all we know, Ohio State could have the three best quarterbacks in the country, which is ridiculous to think about.
Yeah, seriously.
All right, so we are the champs, and that's nice. We should probably cover that basketball stuff, too. We always kind of forget to cover basketball. So let's talk about the Cavs. Let's start with the Cavs. Looking back this week, they played the Kings, the Suns, and the Lakers. They got blown out without the Kings, against the Kings. And then LeBron came back against Phoenix, and the Cavs played a nice second half, but they ended up losing that game. And then yesterday was the whole duel between LeBron and Kobe, and the Cavs pulled it out at the end there. So what do you guys think looking back at this week? Anything stick out to you guys? We can also talk about Mozgov and J.R. Smith and how they looked. Looking back, J-Rod, anything to say about this past week?
Yeah, so I watched most of the Suns game, and I felt, we got down early, and Markieff Morris was ridiculous in that game. No one could guard him. He was 15. He was 15 for 21 from the field, and had like a career high of 35. Seems like random players like that just like are able to go off on us.
Yeah,
which is kind of concerning, I guess. But it was good to see the Cavs, attempt to rally at least in the fourth quarter. And J.R. Smith, it was great to see him. He caught fire, and he got us back in the game. And then obviously LeBron returning from injury, he looked much more self in terms of, just running down the court and, being explosive and dunking and stuff. So that was good to see, but, obviously we lost in the end. And then the Lakers game, just the way we started the game, I feel, in the first quarter, the pace, I think that's the pace we kind of have to get at, it seems. I think that was, obviously against the Lakers, it may have looked a little better because, they don't play really too much defense. But I liked that pace they were playing at for, I guess, most of the first quarter. And in terms of, Mozgov, I guess he's been playing okay. Against Sacramento, he had, a double-double, which was nice to see. You can't expect, huge numbers out of him offensively, but he's got to rebound. He's got to defend, fairly well in the paint. So overall, I was pleased with J.R. Smith, and Iman Shumpert obviously hasn't come back yet. He's still, nursing his shoulder injury. So it'll be interesting to see when he comes back how he fits into the rotation. But, with Mozgov, he's been, I guess, okay so far. Nothing thrilling, but
he kind of looks like a James Bond villain. That's what I always think of when I see Mozgov. He looks like some kind of Russian hitman or something.
Yeah, all those international players like Nikola Pekovic, and they look like Bond villains or something out of Russian mobs or something.
Yeah. Hopefully they're not listening to this.
Yeah. I think something Johnny said was pretty important to note about the pace that we're playing at. And it really stood out to me. I was watching the Thunder Warriors game. Well, I guess it's still going on, but no longer watching. And the way our team is set up, it reminds me a lot of the Thunder with, some pretty top-heavy stars and then adequate role players. They have better role players than we do, but a lot of their play is half-court isolation. And you look at their roster, and they're loaded with freak athletes. And, looking at our roster, we have some pretty young athletic guys ourselves, with Tyrese Handles and LeBron, but those two leading a break off of, a decent outlet pass from Kevin Love. We really need to be pushing the pace more and try to get easy buckets and get other guys going instead of trying to do all this half-court sets and isolation play. It's nice to see there's some certain sparks where we have really good ball movement for, a possession here or there where everybody touches the ball and we're firing it around to get a good look. And then I wonder why that only happens once in a blue moon and that it's a lot of, isolation play, which Kyrie's doing really well at, but it's not, that's not something that's going to win you playoff series. Maybe in the fourth quarter will win you a close game or two, but it's just not sustainable because if you rely too heavily on isolation play and a couple guys are off their game, then you're going to lose that game. So I think that was a pretty important thing to note. Otherwise, it's very interesting how we keep getting torched by these random players, and I feel like we should be rebounding better, even better now, with when you have Mozgov and Kevin Love and LeBron on the floor, and or Thompson instead of Mozgov. The other team should be getting I don't know what the average offensive rebounding rate is, but we should have the best defensive rebounding in the league. One of those three are.
Yeah,
and
I think we're 25th right now in the league in rebounds per game, which is unacceptable.
Unacceptable.
I think part of it is Kevin Love. Like, watching these past few games, I'm a little bit concerned about his health because, like, yesterday's Lakers game, man, he couldn't even get out of his seat. Someone had to pull him up. It was like Dellavedova had to, like, lift him out of his seat to get back in the game. And Kevin Love's already not that athletic. So, like, if he hurts his back or, like he has back spasms or whatever, kind of a bad sign. And I think this is, like, a lingering issue for him. But also the fact that, like we said, Markieff Morris looks like vintage Kevin Garnett out there. And I think that's kind of Kevin Love's fault, partly. I know it's team defense, but, geez, man, that should not happen. So maybe that's part of it. I think Kevin Love might be a little bit hurt. But, yeah, I don't know what's up with our rebounding at all. Tristan Thompson's, I think, the fourth leading offensive rebounder, so that's good. And apparently that's why he can turn down 4 years and $52 million, which is that's crazy, isn't it? Does anybody else think that's crazy?
Yeah, that's absolutely ridiculous. He, like, for a guy that on a good team, there's no chance that he should be starting. He'd be a solid third big guy to have on your team, like off the bench. But really, all he offers is energy and offensive rebounding. And there are a fair number of players that do that, and they're certainly not getting paid $13 million. Yeah.
Not to mention that.
Bad for him, but it's good for the Cavs that he didn't take that.
Yeah. I mean, not to mention that playing with LeBron inflates your numbers, inflates your scoring. He's going to draw help defense, so it's going to leave you open for the offensive rebound. So that's also part of it. Not to take too much away from him, but I think playing with LeBron helps, and I think it's a little bit risky for him to turn down 4 years and $52 million. For those of you who don't know, there was a story that came out that said the Cavs offered him that over the summer, but he said no. But we'll see what happens with that. That's interesting because Tristan Thompson's clearly important to our team, but man, that's crazy to turn down.
And just with LeBron. Speaking of LeBron, Thompson has the same agent as him, so I don't know what he's really thinking. If he thinks he can command more because LeBron has some leverage there, or I mean, he's going to become a restricted free agent after this year, so I don't see any other team really overpaying him more than $13 million a year for what he gives you. So, I don't know what he's expecting to get, how much more he's looking to get out of this deal, but I don't think he deserves anything double digits.
Yeah, I'd say like 10 or 11 was the number I was expecting for him. But
really?
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's what I was expecting. But I guess with the TV deal and stuff, with the salary cap about to jump, maybe 13 or 14 is the new 10 or 11. I don't know.
Yeah, I was just looking at that actually. And NBC Sports projects that the cap's going to jump from around $66 million in 2016 to $87 million in 2017. But I know personally, if I don't want a guy that I don't think should be a starter to command, that's between a sixth and a seventh of your salary cap at $13 million a year. With a huge jump in salary cap, and that just seems interesting to me. But hopefully he can get his, and if he does, it's not with the Cavs, because that would be we can't afford to take that kind of hit for a player like that.
Yeah. One player though that I think has been nice for the Cavs so far is J.R. Smith. I was just looking at his numbers, like, for the Cavs. It's obviously a small sample size, But he's averaging 15 points a game with the Cavs as opposed to, I think, 11.6 otherwise this season. And also, he's got 33.4 minutes a game. That's a lot, and way more than I was expecting. And I guess the one thing that kind of frustrates me about David Blatt is he doesn't set a rotation. Like, I swear it's different every day, and I guess the trades don't help. But, like some days I feel like I see Mike Miller the whole game, and then some days James Jones randomly plays, and then now it looks like it's J.R. Smith because neither Mike Miller or James Jones played yesterday, not like a single minute. What do you guys think about the rotation and the job that Blatt's doing with it? J-Rod, what do you think?
Yeah, there's been a lot of news lately. Obviously, with the Cavs struggles, it's easy for the media to find holes in, what's going on with Blatt and his relationship with LeBron and all that stuff. And it seems like Blatt has admitted to kind of deferring to maybe Tyronn Lue or, the players and say like, I don't know, like, whatever you guys are feeling or. So yeah, I think you bring up a good point with the rotation and how it seems inconsistent as far as who's getting minutes and where. Like, I don't want to see Joe Harris for 20 to 25 minutes out there. Sorry, but so I feel right now the rotation, it has to be, I guess, 8 or 9 players deep. You have your starting 5 when everyone's healthy, and then I feel Shumpert, once he comes back, needs to be in there.
Do you think Shumpert should start?
Yeah, I would bring J.R. Smith off the bench.
Yeah.
Because he's the offensive. He gives the offensive firepower off the bench. You need someone like that who can provide instant offense, where it's not too big of a drop-off once you rotate guys in. But, yeah, so I feel hopefully Shumpert will come back healthy and, be able to contribute well in a starting role. And then I see, J.R. Smith as our 6th man, obviously. And then just the point guard play, backup point guard is another, I guess, issue
big
for
question
us.
Mark.
Yeah, and that's
some names
come up in the news.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Farmar and Nate Robinson have been thrown out there. What do you think?
Yeah, so with those two guys, I think they would be upgrades over Dellavedova. Dellavedova, he's a nice guy, and I like him and everything, but the way he plays basketball is just, I don't think it's at an NBA level at all. So
it's hard.
I don't think he's a backup point guard in this league. I think he's better served as an Australian national team player.
Yeah.
So I feel, bringing in Nate Robinson, I think, would be a positive change, and one who, if someone else on the bench isn't having a great day, he can provide that instant offense as well. So, I mean, he's kind of floated around different teams and everything, but, and when he was in Chicago, he played pretty well. Every point guard, it seems, plays pretty well in Chicago, but I feel upgrade at point guard would be nice. And then I guess looking at the rest of the rotation, you obviously have Tristan off the bench as well, so I think he needs to get some more minutes too. And then, with those more minutes, I think we should sit Love a little more and kind of like what we did with LeBron, just let him get healthy so he's ready to go when it comes, postseason time or close to postseason time, so that we can get a better seed and such. And then I guess closing it out, I think you put in Mike Miller. I don't know about like every game, but I feel he should play a consistent amount each night. Yeah. And I think that's about it. I don't think you play James Jones, Haywood, or Dellavedova. or Joe Harris, for that matter. Yeah, so I mean, we're still lacking some depth, but I feel with 9 guys we can get away with it, and I feel with that rotation, if we make it more consistent in terms of who we're playing and what rotations work and who plays well with who, that we can be better in the second half of the season. So that's my take on it.
Yeah. Anything to add, Kurt?
Yeah. I agree for the most part. Basically, between Mozgov, Thompson, and Love, that's our front court. And ideally, we could have LeBron play on the wing instead of at the 4. But with who we have, unfortunately, that's not really an option. And that, come playoff time, assuming we make it, and you're looking at a team like Chicago that has Noah and Gasol and Gibson, and the Wizards that have Gortat and Nene, and it's going to be
Chris Humphries too. Chris Humphries.
Yeah,
he's actually good. Anyway,
how could I forget? And of course, the Hawks have Horford and Antich and Millsap.
Yeah.
So when you look at like our 3 versus any of those 3, we are outclassed by a lot, and that's why if we could somehow add another power forward or center, preferably probably a power forward, that would be awesome because we could definitely use the help there. So then LeBron, if we have LeBron playing on 3 with J.R. Smith, Marion, Mike, we have a plethora of wings, and especially with Jumper too. I think that would be a pretty big addition, but I think that's something that we're severely lacking in, and hopefully we can find somebody that can play some sort of meaningful minutes at the 4.
Yeah, I agree. I think they always talk about how Marion would be a good like a good stretch 4 for us, where he can play the 4 in certain lineups. But
oh damn, I forgot about Marion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't see that though. Do you guys think he can play the 4? Like, especially in the East, like I'm not going to put up Marion against Joakim Noah or Paul Gasol or Horford or Millsap. Like, you can't do that. So I agree. It'll be nice when, it won't be this year, so I guess there's no point of even talking about it. But if we had Verjao, at that point, I think we have a nice front 4. But yeah, we are still a little bit thin, even with Mozgov up there. And I don't know if Mozgov played like the final minutes with Denver, like if he played at the end of games. I'm pretty sure he's not going to in Cleveland, so I'm interested to see how he's going to handle that,
Yeah.
So, all right. What's next? What else do you guys want to talk about today?
We could look at who the Cavs have in their upcoming schedule. Obviously tonight they're playing the Clippers on national TV, following the conclusion of the Thunder and Warriors game. And then after that,
you sounded like an ESPN spokesperson. Are you working for them or something?
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about it, but apparently I'm far too ugly to show my face on TV. So
yeah, you know what? ESPN is radio too. It is radio too. Calm yourself.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Yeah, I can always look forward to that.
I'm sorry.
Clippers,
you're go ahead. Yeah.
Clippers
go ahead.
tonight in LA on ESPN, and then Bulls at home on TNT, and then Jazz at home, and the Horn Bobs at home. Our next game through a week from today. So, Rahul, what do you think our record will be in the next 4 games?
4-0. I think we're gonna. I'm serious. Is that so crazy? I think we're gonna be 4-0.
Yeah.
Nothing would make me happier, and I won't get too into it because I'm sure we'll talk about it later. But for the Cavs to beat the Clippers tonight, because somehow Austin Rivers screws it up for the team. I don't know if I'm just like intrinsically evil or something, but I just want to see Austin Rivers just screw it up, and I want to see Doc Rivers look stupid for trading for his son. But yeah, I don't know. Obviously, the Clippers and the Bulls will be tough games. Did the Clippers play last night? Does anybody know?
I have no idea.
Okay. Well, either way, I think
yeah.
out of the 4 games, the Clippers are going to be our biggest challenge because this is a back-to-back for us, and the Clippers are kind of one of those up and down, run and dunk teams. So, but again, I think LeBron and company realize this is a big game, and I think either way it's going to be close. So,
yeah,
hopefully we win. As far as the Bulls, it's a home game for us. We haven't been great at home. We haven't been great in general, but I think, again, the Bulls, I see them as one of our biggest rivals, and I think this can be it could be a nice statement game for us. Because, the Bulls are going to be looking for revenge because we beat them in the second game of the season. So I think after a long road trip, I think coming home is exactly what the Cavs need. And, I think that's a winnable game for us. I think any game is a winnable game for us, but the Cavs don't, clearly. And then the Jazz and the Hornets are games we have to win. I think the Jazz beat us earlier this year on a Gordon Hayward buzzer beater, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's a game we need to come out and play and seek out some revenge on that. So I think 4-0 is entirely possible. I think my reasoning was pretty weak there, but I'm tired. And I'd say 3-1 is acceptable too, and anything less than that would be kind of disappointing.
Yeah.
J-Rod, do you agree?
Not quite.
Not quite.
We're fresh off a 6-game losing streak, and it's been all on the road on the West Coast. So I predict 1-3, maybe 2-2 at the best.
Yikes.
We're gonna get destroyed by the Bulls Monday night, and probably lose to the Clippers tonight. And I think we'll win one of the Utah or Charlotte games, but I guess another random player like Derek Favors probably have like 40 points against us.
Hey, real quick. How about this? If the Cavs go 3-1 or 4-0, you got to buy me a 6-piece from McDonald's.
6-piece?
And,
done deal.
But if you get what is it, 1-2 or 1-3 or 0-4, whatever the hell you want, I'll buy you the 6-piece.
Deal.
All right.
So Johnny, I have a quick question for you. If you think that these next 4 games are going to go that poorly, do you see us turning the season around, or what do you think? What do you think is going to happen the rest of the season? I guess if you think we can't, hopefully we can beat Utah and Charlotte. The other two, I agree it might be toss-ups, but where do you see us going this season, or what needs to change, I guess, for us to be competitive and win games that we need to win?
Yeah, so I guess it's interesting to look at. After this Clippers game, we will be officially halfway through the season, 41 games in, which is kind of crazy. It's kind of flown by. So, we're hovering around that 500 mark right now. And so to improve, I guess 1 would be play some defense. 2, get healthy, especially K-Love and LeBron, just to make sure they're fully healthy. And
I will say,
think once we have our,
Sorry, I will say, not being healthy, I'm willing to bet Blake Griffin throws down about 10 dunks on him tonight. I still think we win, but anyways, continue with your point. Sorry about that.
No, it's fine. Yeah, so I guess looking into the rest of the season, I see us getting better, but not significantly better. I mean, once we have our big three on the court, I think we're one of the, statistically, we're one of the better offensive teams, but the big question mark still is the defense and what we're going to do to improve that and what we're going to do to improve how people perceive Blatt, and is he getting crap after every game and all this media junk that we don't need. So I think we need to straighten that out. And I think they brought up a good point last night. Reggie Miller just said, all this could have been put to rest if LeBron would have just spoke up and said, yeah, Blatt's our coach. Let's just move forward and, stop talking about this. Which I think is true because LeBron has that power, He makes a lot of the decisions on this team, and, he's got the most influence, arguably out of anyone in the NBA in terms of players and their team. So, I feel we got to back Blatt, and we got to put all that stuff aside. And
I think for whatever reason, LeBron likes to stir the pot. Like, he doesn't come out and say that they back David Blatt. He says that stuff to Dwayne Wade on camera about doing bigger and better things. I think part of him kind of likes the controversy. Is that, I don't know, it's possible. But, I don't know why he didn't just come out and say something. But, I don't know, maybe the Cavs don't care. Maybe we care and the media cares more than they do. But, we'll see. Kurt, what's your prediction for the next, 4 games?
I tend to agree with Johnny on the more pessimistic side. I expect us to go 2-2, winning against Utah and Charlotte, just purely based on talent discrepancy. At the end of this road trip, against the Clippers, second night of a back-to-back. Clippers didn't play yesterday. I did look that they played.
I just wanted to beat Portland on Wednesday.
Clippers are pretty solid in Los Angeles. I don't expect us to win that. And Chicago, I think, is simply a better team, and they're kind of starting to fire on all cylinders. They're looking pretty solid as a unit, and they're far deeper than we are. And then, Utah and Charlotte, those are just games that, at this point, I know, you shouldn't say must win when you're not halfway through the season. Well, I guess at that point we will be, but those are games you can't afford to drop, especially at home, just against subpar talent. But looking past that, I actually feel relatively decent until
March, really.
Yeah, until March, our schedule looks pretty good. We have, we play the Knicks, Pacers.
We play the East.
Yeah, exactly. That's completely true. And even the West teams we play, we get to play Sacramento at home. We get to play at Minnesota. We get to play the Lakers again. That's in the fourth. Oh, go ahead.
All that being said, I think today is the exact halfway point of the season, right? 41 games. What do you predict our final record to be then at the end of the season?
So right now we are 20-20, and after we lose tonight, we'll be 20-21.
Hey, do you want in on the deal too? You want in on the Nuggie deal? I can eat a lot of Nuggies.
Or give them away.
Yeah, you can count for what? Should I just take the 2-2 record, or am I just gonna go with Johnny? So you get double the Nuggies.
You can go with Johnny. I'll take 3-1 and 4-0.
Yeah, I'll go with Johnny for sure, and then 2 or 2 or less.
All right. Hey, I like ketchup. barbecue sauce. Go ahead.
I think, like basically through March, I think this schedule, the way it's laid out, couldn't have worked out much better for us. Until mid-February, our schedule is pretty soft, and hopefully we can get some momentum going and get healthy heading into the latter stretch of the season. I think this is a good time to, hopefully we can experiment more against some of the worst teams and still pull out some victories, get some guys' confidence going, and most importantly, start racking off some wins. So I think I'm not going to be terribly optimistic on our record. I still don't see us getting in the top four seeds, which is pretty unfortunate because I don't want to play any of those teams in the playoffs. But I think we'll probably end up somewhere around 45 and 37 is what I'll say. What do you think, Rahul?
Yeah, I think it's pretty close to my prediction. I think if they play 600 with a 600 winning percentage, that's 25 wins or something like that. So I was going to say a little bit under 50 wins, somewhere around the 47, 48 win area. So I guess we're pretty close on that. I think the biggest thing for this team is just time for the purpose of continuity and health.
Yeah.
And I mean, other than that, I'm sure there's no secret. Cavs got to get healthy, and then we got to get Shumpert in, and we got to get Mozgov going too, and then I think we're still going to struggle, have little spurts here and there. But I'm optimistic. I think those top four teams in the East right now, Atlanta, Chicago's in there, Washington, Toronto's in there. They're all really solid. So I think even at 48 to 50 wins, we might end up as the 5 seed. But just like you said, you don't want to play any of those teams. I'm sure none of those teams want to play us.
Yeah, that's true.
Because after Cleveland, the drop off is huge. So hopefully we can get the 4 seed, but I think that's just wishful thinking right now. J-Rod, what do you think record-wise we're going to be at?
Yeah, along the lines of what Kurt predicted, I think it's in the range of 43 to 45 wins. And I think that's staying at the 5 seed. I want to say I don't see a team below us that's gonna be above 500 or more than 500. So yeah, I feel we play Toronto in the first round. They're the 4th seed, I think. So I think out of the 4 teams, I would rather play them than the others. But it'll still be tough, regardless. And then after that, I think we would have to play the 1 seed, right? So we would have to play the Bulls. So that's tough too.
Yeah. So you think Chicago's going to be the 1 seed?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Atlanta's still going strong, but Chicago in the end.
Yeah. Can't help but disrespect Atlanta, but they're so solid. So nothing's a given. But yeah, Kurt, what were you trying to say?
I don't know if you guys are looking at the schedule, but in early March we have a 5-game stretch that I think is going to be absolutely crucial. We'll be able to tell by then for sure if the Cavs have any chance of making a run in the playoffs. We have at Toronto, at Atlanta, home versus Phoenix, and then at Dallas and at San Antonio. Wow, those 5 games,
brutal
days, 4 of them on the road, potentially all playoff teams. We're not sure about Phoenix. That is killer, and luckily it drops off again after that. The rest of the season after that actually is relatively soft. I think we have about maybe 12 to 15 games left after that, and one game at Memphis, and one game against Washington, one game against Chicago, and the rest of the teams are pretty subpar, it looks like. So, if we can win 2 or 3 of those games on the road, then I think I'll give us a good shot. I'm just hoping we don't lay an egg and go 0 for 5. But that's going to be so. By then, we'll have a pretty good idea of not only where we're going to fall at the end of the year, but if we actually have a legitimate shot of, making it to a conference finals or an NBA finals with what we have. So that'll be an interesting stretch to pay attention to.
Definitely. And like we always say, thank God we're in the East.
Yeah. Sure. So what else is any other trade rumors going around in the league? I saw online earlier that there's a potential trade that would land Brook Lopez in Oklahoma City, and involving Kendra Perkins and Jeremy Lamb. Any quick thoughts on that? Either of you? Start with Johnny.
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting that originally it was looking like a 3-team trade involving Brooklyn and Lance Stevenson going back home, to Brooklyn, which would have been interesting, but it seems like they kind of pulled out of those trade talks, and things have kind of toned down a little. So if it's going to happen, it seems like it's going to be involving OKC and Brooklyn. But Brook Lopez is a player who's very talented, but he's not on the floor too much in terms of he's always injured But I feel OKC could definitely use the upgrade in the front court. Kendra Perkins, he should have been gone a while ago.
Yeah.
You always bring up the James Harden situation, and they should have amnestied him there. And I think he's on an expiring contract now, which kind of makes him a little more valuable than nothing in terms of a deal. Yeah. And Jeremy Lamb's an interesting, younger player that hasn't really had the opportunity to fully develop in OKC, I think. So I guess going to Brooklyn would be good for him. So I think it's kind of a win for OKC more. But I guess Brooklyn wants to shed some salary possibly. And Prokhorov looks like he's got to sell, so maybe the next owner will be, more conscious with, how he's dealing out $20 million salaries. Like, oh, here you go, here's one, here's one, Darren Williams on your no knees. So, yeah, I don't see it. I see it as, I guess, not too much of an impact trade, but I guess OKC. I mean, we were just talking about a little earlier in these last few days about OKC, and they just do not look the same as they were, these past few years, and what we have, known as like a top seed in the West. They play zero defense, and their offense, as Kurt has mentioned, is just a bunch of isolation and no real flow. And I think that also points back to Scotty Brooks, and I just don't think he's a very good coach. I just think he landed with Russ, Ibaka, and KD, and, kind of like Mike Brown, he's like, he inherits a good team, and, his winning percentage is obviously going to be very good. And just because he has those players. It's nothing he's really doing. And there's been a lot of news of like, what does he really, contribute, Brooks, in terms of game planning and rotation stuff. So, yeah, that's my take on it, I guess. It's a semi-interesting trade, but I don't see it like being too impactful going forward, I guess.
Just to add to that, I think if the Thunder get Brook Lopez, between him and Steven Adams, I think they'll be pretty set at the center position. You're the Thunder, so you don't need anything spectacular. You just need somebody to hold on the fort. Between the two of them, they should be just fine there. I'm sure they'll miss Kendra. I was watching the game today. It's about to end, but Perkins comes in, and right away he gets a technical foul.
Technical?
Yeah, and then he scowls. So I'm sure they'll miss that. And I think he was pretty close to some of his teammates there. I know Kevin Durant would always get texts at 3 a.m. from Kendrick Perkins. I think it's kind of weird, but
oh, God.
Whatever works for them. As far as the trade for Brooklyn, I think it's a terrible deal.
Absolutely.
Jeremy Lamb is just too much of a question mark. Who knows if it's because he didn't get enough of an opportunity or he's just kind of up and down. But in this league, centers are just they're at such a premium. And Brook Lopez, when he's healthy, is one of the top centers, probably top 10 or 15, I'd say, in the league. So last year, the Cavs traded John Lure and got Mo Spates, Wayne Ellington, and a first-round pick. So I don't understand how you can't even get a pick for Brook Lopez. Especially because they're so depleted of picks. They don't have any picks. So how can you not get a pick for one of your best players? I don't get that. I think it's a terrible deal for Brooklyn, and I don't like that organization, so I don't care. Anything to add?
Yeah. I actually kind of disagree. Actually,
Okay.
I'll say I disagree only because I agree that Brook Lopez is a pretty solid center, and that they are hard to come by. But he misses so many games that I think it's trading nobody for Jeremy Lamb, because Kendrick Perkins is as much. No, I don't hate to say it. He serves almost no purpose in the NBA that we've been watching change. In that, he was a guy that was important when the Lakers had Pau Gasol and Andrew Bynum on their team as just somebody who's big and apparently strong. He kind of stands there and doesn't do a whole lot, but can play interior defense. Not going to block shots, but somebody who can man up against a big guy. And there just aren't a whole lot of players that he is going to be able to defend, because that kind of brand of player is far and few between. And he doesn't really offer anything on offense. He isn't athletic. So I don't know how he's still in the league, honestly, but I guess maybe he's a good teammate or something. But and with Brook Lopez, I think, he's set on the career path of he's just not going to be able to play a lot of games. So if you're Brooklyn, you're going to be eating salary, but with all the terrible salaries they already have, what's an extra $10 million to throw down the drain? And at least they get somebody out of it who has a lot of potential, but you just, one of those guys that you never know if he's going to be able to make that next leap to becoming a solid player in the league, instead of, a guy that comes off the bench and has his moments, but never really realizes his potential.
Yeah.
So if I was Brooklyn, I would do it for sure, but that's just me.
I think Brooklyn's they have their hands tied because Lopez is a max salary player. Darren Williams is a max salary player. Joe Johnson is a max salary player. So for that reason, they have to do it. But I stick to it, man. They have no picks. They needed a pick out of this, and they didn't do it. I think there could have been something out there where they got a pick, and I think that's why I didn't make the trade yet. I think they're looking for a deal that brings back a pick.
Yeah, I'm just saying, if this is the only offer they get, I would do it. But
Yeah.
I assume that somebody is willing to take a gamble on Brook Lopez that, is in contention, that thinks that this move will elevate them to the next level, which there probably aren't a whole lot of teams that are looking for a player like that, but Oklahoma City, especially if they're getting
I think that the Heat were one other team that were looking, I think.
And another team was the Rockets.
Makes sense.
They need
the
Rockets are always
trying
involved.
to pick up everybody.
Rockets are always involved in trades.
Yeah.
Well, who's Dwight Howard's backup right now?
Montes Eunice, or I can't even pronounce his name. He's actually pretty solid though.
Monte Eunice?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He starts at the 4 for them. He's their starting power forward now.
He's still like.
Yeah, I know.
Joey Dorsey. It's like Joey Dorsey. Joey Dorsey is their backup.
That's the thing. I can kind of see why it makes sense for Houston, because if they're going to go for the championship this year, Joey Dorsey is not the insurance policy you need on Dwight Howard. But yeah, I don't know. Brook Lopez is such a hard player to understand. So.
Yeah, there was another actual trade that happened. I guess I shouldn't say another, but there was a trade that happened involving one of the statistically worst players in NBA history thus far in his career, Austin Rivers, the Clippers.
Oh, yeah.
For Reggie Bullock, Chris Douglas-Roberts, second-round pick. Any thoughts on that trade? Rahul?
Yeah, I actually just played Austin Rivers one-on-one. I beat him, but it was close. Man, okay, so Austin Rivers is still young, so it's possible that maybe he turns into a serviceable NBA player. Mm-hmm. But it's also very likely he doesn't. And at that point, I raised the question: Is this whole thing worth it? Is it worth it for Doc Rivers to take the heat for bringing in his son if his son basically sucks, which he probably will do? And then it's going to make holidays and stuff real awkward when Austin Rivers isn't getting any playing time. It's going to be some awkward conversation. But I think the biggest problem I have with this deal, forget Bullock and Chris Douglas-Roberts and waiving Jordan Farmar, because those guys, they don't do anything. But how can you give up a second rounder for Austin Rivers? Why would you just throw away your pick? I get that second rounders probably don't turn into much, but still, why would you do that? I don't know. I don't even think the Clippers' biggest need was a 6'4" point guard or whatever he plays.
No.
What they needed was more of a swingman. And Austin Rivers did not address that at all. So I think, bad trade. So what do you guys think?
Yeah, I side with you on this. And Kurt, Austin Rivers is terrible, and this is a dumb and unnecessary move. Yeah, I feel like they could have made a trade that was actually meaningful and could have put them into contention, which would have been for like a wing player and a wing defender, like someone like Wilson Chandler, who's available from the Nuggies.
Wilson Chandler would have been useful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes it clear that the Clippers aren't going to be anything this year in terms of playoffs or playoff contention. I think they're just going to be bounced in the first round, most likely. You know, they might have a decent record going into it, but it's the same old story with them. They can't get over the hump, and, you know, making moves like this is further evidence of that, I think. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, they obviously didn't give up a whole lot, I agree with Rahul. I think it's interesting that his dad's going to coach him. When it's a player like that hasn't done very well in his career, I understand that they think that maybe this is a chance for him to develop with his dad. I mean, he was like, I think he was the number one player out of high school in his junior year.
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But I remember watching him play. He played for Winter Park in Florida. They got a couple national TV games. But he's really struggled, and that's an understatement. And if you're the Clippers, I wonder how do you let the Rockets get their hands on Josh Smith and Corey Brewer? At least the Corey Brewer thing, like that was the number one, I think, wing guy available, and I don't even think there were any trade talks involving the Clippers for that guy, and that's like Johnny said, that is the position that they sorely need. Obviously, their point guard, power forward, and their center position are pretty well locked up with, those are three guys that I can see on a starting championship team. But when you look at the 2 and the 3 guard, you're kind of wondering, what exactly do they have here? JJ Redick's fine, but you need a wing defender that can shoot threes, and this doesn't address that need in any way, shape, or form. So I don't necessarily get it either.
Yeah. Yep, I think Doc should stick to the coaching, and he shouldn't have taken that GM spot, man.
Yeah,
I think he's a great GM.
Yeah, he's still got a lot to learn about it, I guess, but I can't imagine the time commitment that involves with, leading a team, not only being its figurehead, but maybe he's delegating a lot with his associates, but trying to run a team and run the franchise at the same time that seems like that's a tall order, and only a few guys have done it in history. So maybe today with all the analytics and such, there just needs to be 2 people to fill those roles instead of trying to have one guy do it all.
Yeah. I mean, it takes 3 of us to do a podcast.
And that's true.
Yeah. The one thing I want to mention real quick is, did you guys hear about the Larry Sanders news? He was suspended today for 10 games for marijuana use. And I think as far as Larry Sanders goes, I think at this point it's time to say that his problems probably transcend basketball, because I think this is his second drug-related suspension. Not to mention he's missed 11 games before this new suspension, for either like the flu or personal reasons or whatever. No one really knows. And then he's been injured before. He was in a bar fight. Clearly, I think, I don't know, I don't want to say anything that's not true, but some psychological stuff that's going on with him that he needs to get sorted out before he concerns himself with basketball, because I think he's clearly troubled. I don't know, any thoughts on him at all?
Yeah, I agree that, we don't really, it's hard because you don't know how the Bucks locker room feels about this or the situation, how they feel about him as a player. But if he's sacrificing about $1 million in salary, and if that's not enough of a wake-up call, then that's pretty concerning. So I hope, he's a pretty fun player to watch, one of the elite defensive players when he's on the court and feeling fine. So I sincerely hope that he can figure it out and return to the court and go back to being the exciting player that he was.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess kind of along the same lines. He signed a 4-year, $44 million contract extension before the 2013-14 season, and ever since, it's just been really tough for him. He hasn't been on the court much, and his off-court stuff has just followed him around, wherever he goes. So yeah, obviously he's an exciting player. Zach Lowe of Grantland would always write his name in caps and everything, which is pretty cool. But yeah, he's obviously a talented, and it's tough to see like these guys, even in the NFL, these guys with a bunch of potential, and they're blowing their, what people would die for in terms of playing professionally, and your job is to play sports. So it's just a tough thing to see. And looking at Milwaukee, 21-19 this year after winning just 15 games last year. So, and they're doing this all without, obviously they lost Jabari Parker for the year, and now it looks as though Sanders, he might not be back, so yeah, I think it's saying a lot about the Bucks too, and
Jason
how
Kidd.
they're in playoff contention. Yeah, and Jason Kidd as the first year head coach, doing a pretty good job. So yeah, overall it's it's tough to see players like this kind of go along the wrong path, but it's also good to see teams kind of be able to fight through this adversity and still play well. So
yeah, definitely.
All right. So let's wrap it up here. I'll ask you guys a few questions, just 2 or 3 questions here. Call it the lightning round. I'll ask a question. Kurt, you start. J-Rod, you come in second.
All right.
All right. So, winner of the West.
You're talking about the playoffs or regular season?
Oh, regular playoffs. Let's say playoffs. Winner of the West playoffs.
I'll take the Warriors.
Okay, J-Rod.
Golden State.
Okay, winner of the East.
I'll take Atlanta.
Bulls.
J-Rod. The Bulls. Okay, champions.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're saying the Bulls are champions? Kurt, who you got?
I'll take the Warriors.
All right. Where do the Cavs finish in the
Warriors?
Okay, both of you Warriors. Where do the Cavs finish in the East?
I'll take 5th.
I say 5th as well.
Okay, Rookie of the Year.
Whew. That's a good one. I'll take Wiggins by default.
Yeah, it's Wiggins. Mirotic close second, I guess.
Okay, Coach of the Year.
Budenholzer for Atlanta.
Steve Kerr, Warriors as a first year.
MVP.
Wow. James Harden.
Steph Curry.
Okay, and let's finish with Most Improved.
Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, it's got to be Jimmy Butler.
Oh, sorry, one more. And Defensive Player of the Year.
Whew. I have absolutely nobody in mind, so I will say Sergei Karasev.
Oh man. Maybe Noah? I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll come back. I'll say Draymond Green for fun. At least that's like a semi-respectable answer instead of Sergey.
I don't know, dude. Sergey was caught with 3, I think 3 strippers coming back to his hotel room at like 5 a.m. Yeah, you didn't hear that story?
Serious? No,
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, dude, it's good stuff. Maybe we'll post a link to our website.
Yeah, that's funny. I wonder. You think Prokhorov is paying for that? Do you think he was there?
I think Prokhorov was one of the strippers.
That's
Times are tough in Brooklyn.
Yeah. So,
all right.
What else? What do we have coming up on our site that everyone can look forward to?
Well, today we just posted an article. V wrote an article today, and it was about the Bucks championship game, the Ohio State Buckeye championship game. And he actually went to the game, so it's a cool article. It's a good read, so you guys should check that out. Brian Deacon has some bios coming out tomorrow, so look for those. I think they covered the new guys on the cast. So his reading's always fun. And then Sunday you can look for the NBA Jams conference finals and the weekly preview later that night. I know eventually Kurt and I are going to look at some of the top signature moves in the NBA and kind of make a list and write about that. Maybe we'll look at some of the worst signature moves too if we have time. So
some honorable mentions.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot to look forward to.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. You guys have any good experiences with baklava lately? Forgot to talk about that.
No, not recently, but I just wanted to. You might have heard like my alerts on my phone go off, but it is determined that Kevin Love is not playing tonight for the Cavs. So I think he's with his back injury. So I think he's just nursing that. So Tristan is getting the start, and I think this Clippers game will be starting in the next few minutes. So I think I'll be watching that for a little bit before bed. So it'll be interesting to see how Tristan fits into that starting role and whether he'll be there for, possibly a week, maybe 2 weeks. See how long K-Love is out. But news of that just broke. So
I'd like to throw it out there that Kevin Love's back injury is in no way related to him carrying the team. So it's not like a serious back injury. He hasn't been doing any heavy lifting, so he'll be fine.
He's probably just relaxing on the beach right now. Good for him.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
All right,
I think we're good.
And we'll talk to you guys soon.
Sounds good. Talk to you guys.
Yeah.